Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa, France 24's program focused on the continent. I'm Charlie James, and these are the headlines. South Sudanese leaders say they've had enough of rebel leader Machar, refusing him a spot in the government. After 5 years of civil war, a peace deal between the groups looks doubtful. A 2-0 win reinvigorates Nigeria's hopes of making the World Cup's second round. The Super Eagles soared to victory today thanks to 2 goals from Ahmed Musa. And a Tunisian dancer is helping revive his country's traditional art forms and also challenging its views of the human body. France 24's team takes you inside Tunisia's dance world. Our top story: the latest attempt to end South Sudan's 5-year civil war has failed. On Friday, President Salva Kiir rejected working with rebel leader Riek Machar following their first face-to-face meeting in almost 2 years. A government spokesman said they've simply had enough of him. Laurent Bestachar has the details.
A potentially fatal blow for peace in South Sudan. After 2 days of negotiations, Salva Kiir's administration ruled out allowing rebel leader Riek Machar to rejoin the government.
As the people of South Sudan, not the president alone, but as the people of South Sudan, we are saying enough is enough, and if he wants to be the president, he should wait for elections.
Hopes of a breakthrough had been raised this week as the 2 men met for the first time in nearly 2 years at a peace summit brokered by Ethiopia's prime minister. But despite the smiles and the handshakes, neither side made any significant concessions. And while South Sudan's government did say it was open to having an opposition figure in the role of vice president, Riek Machar's dismissal is likely to represent a red line for the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, which condemned the remarks on Friday.
This is bad politics from a known peace spoiler, and it is only intended to derail the peace process.
In 2013, a split between South Sudanese President Salva Kiir and his vice president Riek Machar sparked a bloody civil war, which has dragged on for years despite numerous peace attempts. Both the United Nations and East African Regional Bloc IGAD recently put pressure on the warring sides to reach an agreement, threatening an arms embargo and punitive measures respectively. Salva Kiir and Riek Machar are expected to meet again in Khartoum on Monday, but the latest statements by the presidency make a peace agreement seem increasingly unlikely for the world's youngest nation.
The Ethiopian government says it has unblocked more than 250 websites and TV channels in the country. This is the latest reform from new Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. His chief of staff, Fitsuma Riga, announced the news on Twitter, saying freedom of expression is a foundational right that other rights depend on. During years of anti-government tensions, journalists and bloggers were charged with inciting violence and promoting terror. But since Abiy took office in April, Ethiopia has freed almost all jailed journalists and dropped charges against activists critical of the government. Saturday, Ethiopians are expected to hold massive rallies across the country to show support for the ongoing reform.
There is no equality, there is no justice.
Senegalese American star Akon has announced he is launching his own cryptocurrency, as well as building a city near Dakar. He's naming both after himself. The singer introduced the A-Coin digital currency to the world at the Cannes Lions Festival, saying he believes cryptocurrency could be the savior of Africa. Meanwhile, the Akon Crypto City would be the first town 100% run on digital currency. That would be A-Coin, of course. It's being touted as a real-life Wakanda, referring to the fictional land in Marvel Comics' Black Panther. According to its website, the city is already in development on 2,000 acres of land, gifted to Akon from the president of Senegal. Now, South African farmers struggling with drought have turned to an unexpected crop, the avocado. Avocados are wildly popular in the West, and lucrative export prices are leading farmers in drier provinces to experiment with new techniques to make the most of the little water available.
Avocados have become South Africa's green gold. They now generate $137 million a year for the country. The fruit is extremely popular, especially in Europe. Its export price has doubled this last decade.
Out of all the fruits I sell, the avocados make the most profit. I get nearly 100% profit, I would say. They really boost my business.
Traditionally, avocados were grown in humid subtropical climates, but now they are being planted in the drier Eastern and Western Cape provinces. The Western Cape suffered its worst drought in a century. But thanks to drip irrigation, which drips water slowly on the soil, farmers hope the avocado season could extend from 6 to 10 months. Across the nation, the surge in demand for avocados has represented a boon for local workers.
My life has definitely changed because I'm now able to support my family and my children and basically take care of myself with everything that I need.
There are currently around 16,000 hectares of avocado plantations in South Africa. That area is growing by about 1,000 hectares a year. Some analysts say even the wines grown in the Cape Province may one day have to move aside for the mighty avocado.
Let's turn now to the latest in African football. Nigeria reinvigorated its World Cup campaign today with a 2-0 victory over Iceland. Our sports editor, Keravan Gorgistani, is covering the tournament for us in Russia and sent us this report on the Super Eagles' win.
After their opening defeat against Croatia, Nigeria have turned things around, securing their first victory of this World Cup and putting themselves back in the race for a last 16 spot. And they have one man to thank for that victory, Ahmed Musa, who had a fine second half brace to give the win 2-0 to Nigeria over Iceland. And this result blows Group D wide open because with the Croatians already through to the knockout stages, Nigeria, Iceland, and Argentina can all still hope to join them in the last 16. Nigeria, who are now second in this group on 3 points, followed by Iceland and Argentina, level on 1 point each. Now the Super Eagles will have to battle it out against Argentina in that final game, knowing that a victory against the Argentinians would see the Super Eagles joining Croatia in the last 16.
And finally, we bring you the story of a famous dancer in Tunisia. Roshdi Belghazmi modernizes his country's rich history of traditional dance and has helped spark a revival of variations from folk to high art. His performances also explore societal norms, using movement to challenge how people view the body and its taboos. France 24's team brings you this portrait from Tunis.
For Roshdi Belghazmi, dancing isn't just for entertainment. It's also a way to honor little remembered aspects of Tunisian history. This show is about working men and miners in the late 19th century. Forced to work far from home and their partners, they would express their frustration in a spontaneous dance they called rebouch. The vibe infects the audience who join the show at the end.
I love this dance. It suits men just as much as women. And what's more, it refers to our history and our heritage.
For the dancer, this first performance was a test with a street audience, an audience he isn't accustomed to because of threats that have been made against him.
The Interior Ministry in Tunisia, they forbade me from giving this performance here. They're afraid for me. They're right because there are death threats. But look at the people tonight. They reacted very well. They were involved. They applauded. They danced. So I think we passed this test.
But success has a price. Insults have followed Roshdi ever since he started dancing, especially on social media where he made a name for himself. His dancing disturbs some people.
I see that my work disturbs a segment of Arab Muslim society, which sees a man who dances as an attack on society, an attack on morality and all that.
Roshdi's work has engaged issues of sexuality, male prostitution, transvestites, always through dance. He says folk art allows him to address uncomfortable issues and tackle taboos. He also draws on the rich history of Tunisian dance to dismantle cliches around Arab dance.
We must stop saying that Arab dancing is only Oriental dance. We're pluralistic. We have other dances, and my role today is to defend Tunisian dance.
Roshdi has found around 250 distinct traditional Tunisian dance forms, performed by both men and women throughout history. In his latest creation, Rushdie has taken on the role of choreographer to create a show in tribute to his idols, singing cafe dancers from the 1960s and 70s. Zuhra Lambuba is one of them, a popular dancer also forgotten to history. A tribute from an artist committed to his country's heritage.
That's all for this edition of Eye on Africa, but don't go away. There's more news coming up next here on France 24.